Do you know why this box is really, really exciting? Because of that. Also, the small box is a herald of the larger box. I've got a Falcon Northwest Tiki 9800X3D, of course. This is one of the fastest gaming systems that you can get right now, and concierge-like experience to boot. And it's not because of the coffee. Thank you on behalf of Falcon Northwest. Please enjoy the fancy Cordura mouse mat. You hear that? That's the sound of quality, and also me losing my fingerprints. Store.level1text.com. Teaching Sam to think was a mistake, which is why I went with the 7900 XTX GPU. Oh, that's a sick AI burn. Well, I mean, okay, you can run AI. You can run Rockham. It's fine. Actually, Rockham has actually come a long way. So in the box, you also get your extra unused power supply cables, just in case you're going to do something really, really off script. Some Falcon Northwest coffee. This is good coffee. French press, 30 grams of coffee, 350 grams of water, 4-minute brew time. French press is definitely the way to go for this coffee. Falcon Northwest sales, and some details about your system configuration. Our system inventory, system info sheet shows that we've got long-term testing. Cold boot, Heaven as a burn-in time. Cold boot, MemTest 86 burn-in time. Reboot testing, started and finished. Cinebench R23 score of 23,154. Cinebench R23 10-minute score is 23,363. Max temperature of 85.2 degrees C. Well, we're going to put that to the test. So as configured, this is an Asus Strix X870i. I think it's a Strix. It's a Strix, right? That 85.2 degrees C, that comes courtesy of our liquid cooler. It's an Asetek 612S-M2. That's 120 millimeter. It's a 9800X3D with a 7900 XTX, 36, 38, 3880. And as part of their testing, they verify the video card BIOS version, because sometimes that's a bit of a game of roulette. There's also a really helpful getting started guide, which I've read through previously, and this talks about using a UPS, an uninterruptible power supply, and how to attach your Wi-Fi antennas, and even just basic things. Like, they got to kind of dance around it a little bit, but system performance can be adversely affected by background programs, especially if the programs are poorly optimized. When you install Windows, it really wants to install Candy Crush and other stuff that runs in the background, and it's a bit of a challenge sometimes. Sometimes even, and this is the no fault of you, the computer operator, or the system integrator, Falcon Northwest in this case, Windows will helpfully install an older version of a driver. You get into weird situations where Microsoft Windows Update wants to load a certain version of the driver, and you've downloaded the latest version of the GPU driver or something that you need for a game, and Windows behind your back, when you reboot, will change the version. Sometimes Windows gets into a state and you just have to reinstall it. Fortunately, also in the accessory box, I like that they do this because you could easily lose the USB stick. They put it on this card so that you can't use it. And it's a rescue drive. This will rescue your system and make it awesome by reinstalling Windows, because sometimes the only way to get Windows to behave is to nuke and pave. This ROG motherboard also has a nifty little audio accessory. It's got a USB Type-C in and a Type-A port, so you can use this with your monitor or something like that. And then you got another USB Type-C, audio control, power control, and a flex key. So this is a pretty nifty little accessory. You've also got original Windows reinstallation media, which includes your product key. This is pretty awesome of Falcon Northwest to do. The ROG Strix Hive 2, that's what this little accessory is. It's got to go in the specific Type-C port on the back of the machine, but then gives you one Type-A and one Type-C port. It is magnetic, so you can stick it to the side of your machine. It has analog audio out, a headphone connector. It's a nifty little accessory that comes with the motherboard. And you get the nifty ROG Quick Connect magnetic antenna. That's a beefy power cord for a 1,000 watt power supply. This machine doesn't use anywhere near 1,000 watts. And this is your Tiki setup guide. Most common thing, people plug in their monitor to the motherboard. You want to plug your monitor into the actual graphics card. Up here. Hey, look what they did. Look at that. A cute little level 1 logo. Well, the ship weight of this thing was 28 pounds, and they really have put 28 pounds of computer in a 10-pound package. I love it. Even before we power it on, we got to see what's inside, right? How did they do this? Ooh, look at that. We've got our 120mm AIO for our 9800X3D. This is more than sufficient. AMD is currently not only the gaming performance leader, but also the performance per watt leader and frame per watt. Although, I think you can get higher frame per watt, like the 9800X. Strictly speaking, like if you want to be like super pedantic, an even lower end AMD CPU that isn't going to have a lower ceiling of absolute game performance will be more efficient in terms of performance per watt, frames per watt to a point. But this is the 9800X3D, which is the fastest gaming CPU, which is amazing. And so I'm good with that. Got our Kingston Fury memory, which is 6400, because Falcon Northwest has tuned it. Then we've got my Falcon Northwest order badge and the date and level 1, because that's how they do things. And plenty of room for expansion. I could add a 3.5-inch drive for mechanical storage, or a 2.5-inch drive, or hell, I could even go off script and add that 16 terabyte E.1 ruler format, because the Strix motherboard has more than one M.2. For the M.2 that's in here, it's a 2 terabyte Crucial T705, which is pretty much the fastest Gen 5 SSD that you can get. And even though this is an ITX motherboard, Asus has crammed a lot into this motherboard in order to be able to do expansion, like all these little vertical riser cables and everything like that. So we've got our USB and our front panel breakouts here. It even came with an extra Y cable, which is the unused accessory. And we've got our reference 7900 XTX mounted, which is fantastic. And surprisingly serviceable. It's not really super crowded here. The placement of the fan and the radiator also means that the motherboard is going to have plenty of airflow over it. Now, there is a trick to reinstalling the tubes so that they don't crimp. Because if you crimp the tubes, the cooling will not perform quite as well. It took me a little practice in order to be able to do that correctly. Magnets. Magnetic. Magnanimous. Magical. That one doesn't work. Magnet. The built-in Wi-Fi is 2.5 gig. Falcon Northwest also has a mighty selection of keyboards and mice, gamer stuff or high-end stuff, depending on what your poison is. My poison is of a particular variety, so I'll be using my own keyboard and mouse. Now for the display, what pray tell is a display that is on the same caliber as a machine like this? Well, the Asus OLED, of course. Let's light this candle. Oh, is it too much to ask to see if this works? Hey! So this could be mounted on your desk or out of the way or somewhere else. Neat! OLED monitors, OLED, if you prefer, are incredible because every pixel emits its own light. There's no backlight bleed, there's no anything else, plus also the response time is absurd. Now Asus, for this part, it's 240 hertz at 4K, or 480 hertz at 1080p. The panel itself is capable of 480 hertz at 4K, but the computer to process that in the monitor would have been enormous and probably would have added some input latency. But they should have done it anyway. Even the I love this about Falcon Northwest because they're like, yes, we're a premium brand. Our differentiation factor is that we are a premium brand. You're going to pay a premium for a Falcon Northwest system, but you get it in all the little details. The organization inside the system, how they've done their case layout, the little details of the packaging. Even the unboxing experience. Microsoft has gone out of their way to make the Windows unboxing, the out-of-box experience, OOBE, as ham-fisted as possible. And yet, the Falcon Northwest system, this is a totally clean installation. This is first boot, basically. And I hit the power button, and the system wakes up, and it takes me to a desktop. I don't have to sign in. I don't have to do my Microsoft account. I don't have to do any of that. Now, if you want to link your Microsoft account, you can. There's a shortcut for that. You can just do that in a couple of clicks right from here. But if you don't want to deal with any of that, and really it is a bit soul-crushing when it's like, hey, I'd like to use a local account. No, you wouldn't. It's like, but can I just use a local account? No, don't worry about it. It's not a great out-of-box experience from Microsoft. Falcon Northwest shatters that, does away with it, throws it in the trash where it belongs. You hit the power button when you get this thing out of the box, and boom, there it is. It's ready for me to log into Steam and download games, which we shall do. What's that? That's the sound of our Falcon Tiki at full load. It's emitting some warmth, but I can barely hear it. You can probably barely hear it on the microphone, but that is a shockingly quiet system. Honestly, the loudest thing about this system is that 7900 XTX reference GPU from AMD. The rest of the system is much quieter. Silverstone 1000-watt power supply, other cooling fans in the system, plus the 7900 XTX. It's still, overall, as a package, whisper quiet. It's actually AMD Advantage. It's one of the very few AMD Advantage desktops for performance, and it is performance oriented, and it is boutique, and it is the intersection of all the things. If you're not familiar with the AMD Advantage program, it is a program from AMD that dictates a lot of parameters around system configuration out of the box, tuning, and also noise and thermal characteristics. So AMD themselves have literally signed off on this design and said, yes, we believe that this exemplifies the perfect AMD system. And it sure feels like it to play games and do everything else on it. It's something else. Well, this has been quite a journey. Putting this thing through gaming and real-world workload testing, this is the pinnacle of everything that AMD had hoped for when they debuted with the Zen project. What was that, 2017? It's been a long journey, but this is the fastest gaming system on the planet, and Falcon Northwest has done AMD a great service to present it in a package this well put together and this thoughtfully designed. Everything from the AIO to the airflow profile, even just little details like, hey, there's a cutout on the top of the case so that if you did have a pass-through GPU, you would be able to use it in this configuration because air could pass through from the outside to the other side. And even as compact as this thing is, it's very quiet. There's no sacrifice of performance or anything like that. And out of the box, it is tuned for maximum performance without pushing into any kind of overclocking territory. Now, even when I enabled PBO, this did have some overclocking headroom if I choose to do that. But if I don't choose to do that, well, the worst temperature that I saw was 85 degrees C, which beat Falcon Northwest's own temperature recording by 0.3 degrees. In a not exactly controlled environment, that's within margin of error. But I do have Steve's old sound chamber. It turns out that sound chamber can also double as a thermal chamber, and then you're just doing Coulomb counting basically for how much energy goes into the thing and does it dissipate, and that's a video for another day. I'm very impressed with this package, and this is definitely a no sacrifices gaming build. You would want for nothing else this holiday season, and you'd better do that before the tariffs and everything else kick in, because otherwise after that it's just going to be needlessly more expensive because, you know, it's not as if we're going to be able to get the 9800X 3D produced somewhere other than TSMC. I mean, you know, electronics and everything else, but yes, this is the gaming system. Now, if you're looking to DIY and put your own system together, you can actually use this as a cheat sheet. You could build your own with the same motherboard and a similar AIO, but you're not going to get the Tiki case unless you buy directly from Falcon Northwest. And if you are so inclined to DIY, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. If you cribbed notes on the specific components in here, the crucial T705, the Kingston memory with the good timings, 6400 and specially tuned for even better latency, even though we've got a 9800X3D, the 9800X3D, the Asus Strix ITX motherboard, the Silverstone power supply. Yes, you can put your own system together, and yes, it will perform well, and yes, it'll cost less, but this style, and also some people just want to put together a system and have a warranty and somebody that they can call, and the out-of-the-box experience that's not going to harass you to sign up for things that you don't want. Microsoft. Microsoft. So yeah, Falcon Northwest has not made any compromises with any of their design or aesthetic choices with this. This is the maximum performance this platform offers, so no complaints here. And it is stylish and attractive, and it really is 20 pounds of stuff in a 10-pound box. I like that. It's a great way to think about what they've done here. So yeah, I'm Willis at Level 1. If you want to see me take something for a spin on this or whatever, come hang out in the Level 1 forums or let me know what I've missed, or let's do something unholy. Let's set up dual booting for Linux. But that's going to be in the Linux channel. All right, I'm signing out, and I'll see you in the Level 1 forums.